Hello everyone, hope you're having a good day wherever you're at. The ST is totally cleaned up right now. It's been sitting in the garage for a couple days, it's resting, it works hard. But the M2, we're going to do an initial review today. I have about 3,000 miles that I've put on it, and I'm going to go over the interior, exterior, and the performance. But before we get to that, I want to show you this little clip that Andrew and I made of the M2 when we were in the canyons this past weekend. So enjoy the clip, and then we'll get into talking about the M2. The first thing I want to cover today is the interior. Even though the M2 is a smaller car, the interior feels very spacious. My Focus ST, when I'm sitting in there, and this is mainly because of the seats, you feel kind of cramped. It keeps you in, but just sitting here, I mean, there's plenty of space over there. There's a nice big center armrest. It feels very spacious, and I'm very happy with that. The seats, the leather, the quality of the leather is so much better, and I'm sorry I know I'm not comparing it to my Focus ST. I know they are two totally separate cars, but just coming from that to this, when I was looking at these seats online, just pictures of them, you're like, oh, that's not too exciting. They look kind of cheap. Then you sit on the leather and you touch it, feel it. It's such a nice feeling leather, and I'm very happy with that quality as well. The one thing that kind of let me down, and this has changed from the 2016 and 2017 models, is how the center console goes up into the dashboard. They are like two separate things right now. And the 16 and 17 models, so the non-LCI models, it kind of looks better the way they have it, whereas this, it's just like a flat, kind of boring dash. But again, that's not why you're getting this car. If you're getting a BMW for its technology, you're making the wrong decision, I promise you. Moving on to the gauges, I love the gauges, especially on the LCI model, which is the LCI models were 2018s. They have the new digital gauges. They're partially digital. They're analog dials, but the numbering all lights up. It just looks really good. And there's also the oil temperature, which they added to the LCI models. A lot of people complained about that because they said, how can it be an M car if it doesn't have an oil temperature gauge? So now that's been added on here. I still think it should be always showing where it's not, but that's something I might be able to code in with Beamer code, OBD port scanner, that I can connect to my phone and do some, I'm going to do some basic coding. I'm not going to get into the advanced because I don't know anything about it, but I'll make some videos on that coming up. Additionally, the shifter in this car is incredible. The way that you engage gears, it is so smooth. I'm in comfort mode right now. I'm in second gear. We'll go up to third. The notchiness, it's such a nice feeling. It is so smooth. The way the shifter fits in your palm it made me smile. The first time I did it, I was like, yep, this car's perfect. Just the thought that went into the shape, the size of it, it just feels really nice. It looks really nice. There is an option for an M Performance shifter. It's Alcantara. I think it also lights up. But I don't know. I don't think I like it more than this one. A lot of the M Performance parts I really like. That's not one of them. The e-brake is leather wrapped. That's a nice feature. It also has an Alcantara boot that matches the shift boot. So that all looks really nice. It all flows. Another nice thing is I have Long Beach blue in this car, so all of the stitching matches the outside. The 2016 through 2018 models only have that type of stitching. You're able to get red stitching on the M2 competition. The other thing is the seats. They are 12-way adjustable, so you have lumbar support. You have this one support that, like, it feels like two pieces of metal, like, going up your spine, so it's kind of nice. You can get lower and upper mid-back support. So the seats are surprisingly nice. That's probably the most surprising thing about this car. The pictures don't do it justice. You need to sit in them and feel them. I'm like, they don't look very exciting. They don't look very sporty. And what I've come to like about them is the bolsters in my Focus ST are so aggressive that getting in and out of the car itself is like a job. You have to, because I'm very careful about it. I don't want to ruin the seats. I want to take care of them, so I'm careful getting in and out. And on long trips, they can be just kind of over cumbersome. And the main reason is because they don't have the tilt. So you can't adjust the angle that you're sitting at. You're constantly at this angle. So some people have said they like lose feeling in their feet or whatever. I think that's probably from not being in great shape, but argue with me in the comments. This tilts any way you want it to, and the coolest feature is the side bolsters are adjustable. So there's a button that you press and it opens or closes them. So normal driving, like right now, I open them up a little bit, but still some grab. When I go on canyon roads, I will tighten them up and they fit perfectly to my frame or however I want to have them. So you can make these seats as comfortable or as aggressive as you want them. I had no idea before I bought the car that was even a thing, but I'm really happy it is. So the seats, probably the most surprising thing. The biggest letdown of the interior is the sound system. It is so bad. It's a Harman Kardon system, or a hard-on Kardon system, as I like to say. It's just bad. I think it's a 360 watt amp. There's two subwoofers under each seat. Yeah, there might be some in the back. I don't actually know. But there's 12 speakers. It's just bad. I mean, you turn it up to a certain point and it sounds pretty good. It's something I may upgrade coming up. But again, not something I bought the car for. One of the reasons I didn't buy the M2 performance package, which was a 150 car run in the US, was because everything was stripped out. It had a weaker sound system, which I can't imagine. That must sound like a Bluetooth radio, because I can't imagine making the sound system worse than it is in here. Wow, the road's covered in mud. I don't know what happened. So part of the reason I went with this car is because I wanted to have the luxury car experience but still have performance, and that's where the M2 I think does really well. Yeah, so the sound system, if you I mean, it's fine. Like, I can listen to podcasts, I listen to music, but I would just expect a little bit better for, a $60,000 car. You would think they would put something, a little more time into it. So that's the biggest letdown, and something that I might upgrade in the future, just so it's up to the standard that I expect. All right, so I just put the car in traction mode, and we're in a garage. Listen to this exhaust. Oh my God. And I do that for no one else's pleasure but my own. The BMW iDrive system is something that's totally new to me, and I actually find it fairly intuitive. It's easy to get through the screens, and this also has a touch screen. The funny thing is, I never go for the touch screen. I really like the knob and the wheel. I never go for the touch screen, really. I've tested it a few times to see how it works, and it's okay. Whereas in my Focus with Sync 3, I'm always using the touch screen. So I think they've done a really nice job with it. The main thing to know is any menu that you're on, if you're on media, if you're on map, if you're on navigation, whatever, if you hit option, that's going to give you the options for split screen or other options within that part of the iDrive menu. So hitting the option button is something that will help you learn the system a little bit quicker. But I really like it. It's smooth. This doesn't have Apple CarPlay. That's a $300 upgrade option that, for whatever reason, the original owner of the car did not opt for. I can get that. But it's also weird. I can get it, $300, but that only lasts, it lasts for 20 years. So that $300 subscription is good for 20 years, which I find that really weird. Like, what's going to happen in 20 years? Will it not work, or will they just stop supporting it? So kind of interesting, but something I am going to probably do. I plan on taking this on a lot of road trips, and I want to be able to enjoy the car, and having Apple CarPlay will change how I interact with the iDrive system. So I'm excited. I am going to do that at some point, probably before I go on a road trip, but that will be something I add to the infotainment. I also think it's kind of sad that every Hyundai, every single one from top to bottom, comes with Apple CarPlay. The fact that BMW's, it's an option, that's such a joke to me. That they should come standard, and I think it's awesome that Hyundai is doing that. Again, not to compare them, but it's kind of embarrassing that these high-end car companies are making that an option. I just don't understand what the point of that is. Now let's talk about performance with the M2. And really the key thing with performance is talking about the drive modes in the car. I'm in comfort mode right now, so that minimizes any noise out of the exhaust, any burbles or backfires or anything like that. It's in its quiet, most docile mode. The suspension does not change. Can adjust the weighting of the steering, and the throttle response changes as you go into different modes. So if I put it in sport mode right now, throttle enhances a little bit, and you have the ability to do just the throttle being more responsive and the steering, or you can just do the throttle or just the steering, so you do have that ability. When you're in Sport Plus mode, it's in its most aggressive mode, so the throttle is sharp, the steering is heavy. It's really, Sport Plus is how this car should be driven, because and I'm not just being a meme right now, like any BMW owner just throws their car in Sport Plus and that's how they drive around. I think there are settings for where if you want to be efficient, you should be in comfort mode, just because the throttle is softer. But when you're in comfort mode and you're like, I remember when I first got the car and I was driving back from Utah to Arizona, I was like, man, it's not as fast as I thought it would be, or it's not as responsive as I thought it would be. It's kind of sloppy, and that's because I was in comfort mode and just didn't really understand the difference between all of them yet. When you put it in Sport Plus, I'll do it right now. I'm going to keep my foot steady on the throttle. I don't know if you could hear that, but it makes it so much more responsive. The shifting is smoother. Everything is better in Sport Plus. When you're in comfort and you shift between gears, there's like this little lag. You have to like put your foot down further on the gas just because it's not as responsive. So in Sport Plus mode, it is so good. The exhaust is loud. It burbles, there's pops and bangs. It sounds so good, and that's just how this car should be from the factory. There are other modes. There's traction mode, and then there's the one mode where you can turn all of the assist totally off in the car, but I did that once, almost spun out through an intersection, so I need to find an empty parking lot and just kind of test and see what the limits are before I do that again. But I really don't find a reason to do that. It's crazy how much the computer is, this old guy spanking me. It's crazy how much the computer is doing for you. You don't realize that until you take traction control off and you realize, oh, I'm not even driving the car right now. It's just, this car can really get out of hand quick, and it throttles the power down. I mean, there's just a lot of power and torque, and the back tires, as wide as they are, can't handle it. It's interesting, Dynan has a package to where they increase the power, increase all of this stuff, but they actually soften the suspension and you get better acceleration times out of the car. So maybe the suspension is a little too stiff, and that's something I'll talk about when I make a video on what it's like daily driving this car. But other than that, when I took it on the canyon roads, I mean, this thing, the rear differential in this is so good. It works so well. I like the short wheelbase of it. It just has, you're able to throw it around turns. I made an M4 video where I rented an M4 in Maui, Hawaii, and it's a cool car. It looks good. People look at it. It's good in straight lines, but it's not that fun to throw around turns. Where this is, you know, down on power, down on weight, and it's just smaller. The wheelbase is shorter. It's more tossable. It's just a better driver's car, in my opinion. When I took it on canyon roads, that was my first time being able to really experience the car, and it's such a well-balanced car. It still is a little overweight, in my opinion. I'd like to see it around 3,300 pounds. You know, I'm sure that would take carbon fiber and some restructuring or getting rid of the rear seats or something like that, but it's still a little heavy. But because of the short wheelbase and manual transmission, it's such a joy to drive. Also, the sound in between shifts, if you take a look at this video here, just the sound it makes in between gears, or when you let off the throttle, the pop, it sounds so cool. And that's why I'm hesitant to even change the exhaust. I like how loud it is. You could go with the M Performance exhaust. You could go with the Akrapovic exhaust. There's options out there. There's not a ton, but there are options. I don't know what I would go with, to be totally honest with you. I don't know if I'll ever change that, just because I'm enjoying it how it is right now. If you're thinking about getting this in a manual transmission, I think you're thinking correctly. I just don't think the DCT for BMWs is that great. I think the PDK in Porsche is amazing. I think the DSG is good in VWs like the Golf R. Great transmissions. I don't think the DCT is very good. I think you've got to get this in a manual transmission, and over time the value will be slightly better on these as well. It's very easy to shift. The rev matching on downshifts is amazing, and you're able to turn that off by going into switching the traction control totally off. I think if you're against that and you haven't actually driven it, I think you will, because I was, you'll quickly just enjoy how well the car does it, and how it's just one less thing that you have to do. I understand wanting to do it on your own, but it does it so well. It's so fun to do, and when you're doing a lot of daily driving, you don't always want to be rev match. Like, it's nice that it does it for you, and it would be better on the track as well. So I understand being a purist and wanting to do that on your own. I totally get it. But once you drive it and see how well the car does it, I don't see you wanting to go back. Performance of the car is great. And it still has decent efficiency. I mean, I was over 28 miles per gallon when I was driving from Utah to Arizona in a 6-hour trip. The suspension's pretty firm, but the seats are comfortable. I don't think you're gonna be let down. The other thing I'll say about performance is it's really in that sweet spot. It's not a 500 horsepower car that's rear wheel drive and kind of scary. It's a great balance. It has 365 horsepower, 343 pounds of torque, and on overboost it has 369 foot-pounds of torque. Overboost you can't control. It is only when the conditions are right the engine will allow it. I think it's a perfect balance in power. I never have felt like, oh man, I wish I had a little more power. Like, it can just fly in this thing. Never feels underpowered. You can always blow by basically anyone you're near, except I was near a Tesla Model 3 Performance the other day, and it was like beside me, and the guy was like looking, he wanted me to just test him so badly, but I was like, I know what the result of this is gonna be, and I'm not even gonna try. I mean, he laid on it and he was so far gone. It's amazing how fast those cars are. This is, to me, so more enjoyable from a driver's perspective to fly around in. And I have driven the Model 3. Check the card at your top of your screen. I filmed my first interaction with Tesla, and it was pretty fun. So the final thing we're going to talk about is the exterior of the M2. Again, it's 2018. This color is Long Beach Blue. Some upgrades that I've done so far, I put the M Performance black kidney grills in. Normally these are chrome. So this just visually, I feel like it should have come like that from the factory, but it looks really nice. You can also get these totally black in chrome. This can be like a chrome black, this can be chrome black, or you can just get this chrome black and leave that. And there's also a carbon fiber option. So there's a ton of M Performance parts that you can put on to differentiate yours from other M's on the road. But overall, it's just a very, very aggressive look. This front end alone creates 40% more downforce than an M240i. So it's that, not only that, but the flared fenders, I think in the front it's 2.1 inches wider, and in the rear it is 3.1 inches wider. So it's much wider to house the bigger wheels from the M3 and the M4. Moving around to the back, quad tip exhaust, stock exhaust system, but like I said earlier, it sounds so good, so I'm very hesitant to even change it. So the exhaust pipes look amazing, they sound amazing, and then the quad tips, which is for all M Performance cars currently have that. The rear diffuser here can also be purchased in carbon fiber, along with a carbon fiber spoiler, carbon fiber diffusers here, and then right here you can get them as well. So that's something I might do in the future, but again, those are like $1,000 a piece. So you're looking at about $3,000 in carbon fiber to add on, which mainly does visual things. I guess the front flares and also the rear spoiler add some downforce when they work in conjunction with one another, but that's not, like, how much of a difference is that actually going to make? Another thing that I want to point out are these carbon fiber splash guards that I purchased. I really didn't do this for a look. The reason I got it is because I noticed that rocks were kicking up and missing the paint protection film that comes from the factory and hitting up here on the paint. So this has actually reduced that almost 100%, and it looks really nice as well. They were about $90 for both of them, so I thought it was a fairly priced upgrade. It fits flush right into the OEM mounts and sits nicely in there. So I think that was a really nice upgrade just for protection of the car, and will eventually flow with the other carbon fiber parts that I put on the M2. Additionally, on the front, a lot of the front of the car, I have paint protection film. So front bumper, rocker panels, hood, mirrors, A-pillars, and then it goes up about 10 inches across the top here, which you can see. Has it in the door cups. This comes from the factory covered. And they also covered this like trunk guard here, and it was awesome. I got it done at Dynamic Tint, and they ran it along the body lines here, so you can't even see it. It's extremely hard to see. So that concludes the 3,000 mile initial review. Very happy with the car so far. It's really exciting to be driving something that people are looking at. People, when you pull up to gas stations or lights, whether they're BMW owners or M owners or just car enthusiasts in general, they really like the car. And I think the color has a lot to do with that, because if I was driving this car in white or black, it just wouldn't pop as much. And I love this color. I mean, if you're gonna get a secondary car and it's an exciting car to drive, to me, I like bright colors, and this just fit it perfectly. So I will continue to do upgrades, continue to do updates, and anything I learn about the M2. So if you guys are interested in buying one, definitely subscribe, because I'm going to be covering this car just like I did with my Focus ST. If you're not familiar with my Focus, I've done over 150 videos on it, so I'm going to be doing the same thing with the M2. But yeah, it's an amazing car. I think it's one of the best driver's cars, one of the most pure driver's cars you can get right now. And the prices seem to be holding. I mean, since I bought mine for 46, I don't see them falling below 40 unless they're wrecked. I think it's a great buy. I think it's going to hold value over time, especially the manual transmissions. And you're not going to be disappointed if you buy one. So comment below if you have any questions or you have any ideas for videos you want me to shoot. I'm happy to do that. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.